Are you a creative entrepreneur looking for some no-nonsense, straight-talking, actionable advice? Well, you're in the right place because today on the Creative Business TV show, I'm talking about how to handle competitors who just aren't playing fair. Hello and welcome to a little segment of our show we like to call Ask Kylie. I'm your host Kylie Carlson, and in this episode I'm taking a question from Pamela in Panama. Hello Kylie, I'm a wedding planner in Panama City. I've studied wedding planning with the Academy in the UK, and then I launched my wedding planning business. There are some vendors and other wedding planners that don't accept me in the industry and even say that I can't do wedding planning or flowers. It's very competitive in Panama. What advice can you give me? Okay, Pamela, I do feel your pain. I think we've all had competitors that have made our lives difficult. And the thing to keep in mind here is that whatever your competitor does or says, it's more about them and their hardships than it is about you and your business. The reasons for lashing out, they can be many and they can be varied, but more often than not, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's possible that they might feel intimidated by you, and in your case, the fact that you've taken time to build your knowledge and take a course, well, they might feel like that they can't compete with you. So they think bringing you down is the only option that they've got. They may also have absolutely no conscience at all, and they're only in it to make money, and they'll do whatever they can to bring you down. Now, the lies they need to tell themselves to justify their actions are more harmful than the lies they tell your customers or anyone else. It might be coming from a place of desperation. Bills are stacking up, their profits are shrinking, their partner might be complaining that they're never home and never spend time with the kids, the house is being repossessed. The list goes on and on. It might be stemming from mental health issues, things are failing. This whole business thing is harder than they thought. Motivation might be waning. They might judge themselves and depression is setting in. So they look for someone to blame, and you're the most convenient choice. The funny thing is that we've all been there. Whether we lash out or not, I'm sure we can all relate. The question, obviously, is how do you deal with it? So letting this stuff fester is going to cause more harm. So deal with it you must. And how you deal with it mentally is probably the most important part. The easiest way to react to a slap in the face is to slap right back. But easy is rarely the right move. Make no mistake, this is the worst thing you could possibly do. And it's probably exactly what they want you to do. But this won't solve the problems. It'll only inflame the symptoms. So don't play into that trap. Firstly, you've got to understand that this isn't about you. Whatever kind of trouble or pain that they may be in, lashing out is a sign that they need help, whether they realize it or not. It's easier to vent your frustration on someone else than to dig down and ask yourself the hard questions. So at some point, they need to face the issues they have, acknowledge them and deal with them in order to grow, however hard this may be. Now, I'm not saying you should pity them, but understand that there are reasons behind this that aren't clear to you. Secondly, you have a responsibility in this. It's really easy to spend countless nights thinking about what you could have possibly done wrong. Like any great creative entrepreneur, or in your case, Pamela, a wedding planner, you should always be thinking about ways to improve things. So if there is something you could do better, then take that learning away. Could your customer service be better? Your event delivery, your vendor relationships? Whatever it is, you need to remember that this is not the cause, so don't blame yourself, but use the opportunity to make your business stronger. Third, you can only control what you do and how you react to the situation. For me, this has been a journey in realizing that there's only so much energy I have, and focusing on the stress and the anger is not helping anyone at all. Now, a few years ago, I received a phone call from someone who was looking at enrolling as a student with my academy in Australia. And she told me she'd been thinking about taking one of my competitors' courses, who incidentally was someone I knew was actively bad-mouthing us. Anyway, she told me how she'd been astonished at the terrible things that this person she spoke to had said about both me and our academy. Now, it didn't surprise me because, as I said, I was aware of her underhand and nasty tactics. But this was the first time I'd heard the extent of what she was actually saying. Now, the interesting thing was that instead of turning the lead off the academy, it did the complete opposite. It actually made this lead want to speak to us because she was immediately mistrusting of our competitor. And the fact that our competitor, who will remain nameless, had stooped so low, actually made that lead feel really uncomfortable. So much so, she didn't want to enroll with them. Now, obviously, that was a happy ending to this particular story because the lead duly enrolled with the academy and was a good student. But the story doesn't end there. As you can imagine, when I got off the phone, I was absolutely fuming. I could barely see straight. I was so angry. How dare this competitor spread lies like this about us? She hadn't even met me. She didn't even know me as a person. And yet she was telling all these awful lies about me in the academy. So I left it for a few hours until I'd calmed down and had time to think. As a side note, never react immediately because I can assure you it won't end well and you will say and do things you will regret. So once I'd stopped shaking with anger, I realised that actually the thing to do was to pick up the phone and ring the woman who was spreading these lies and call her out on it because this was the last thing she'd expect me to do. And that's what I did. I picked up the phone, dialed the number and waited for her to answer. I introduced myself and then I asked her if I'd done something to offend her. There was silence at the end of the phone for a solid few seconds. I'd completely caught her off her guard. I didn't need to shout or scream because I could literally hear the shock and embarrassment coming down the phone. She'd been caught. I kept the conversation short and sweet, but she was left in no doubt that if things were to continue, I would sue her for defamation of character. Now, would I have ever really sued her? Probably not. But it allowed me to draw a line under it all and move on. I wasn't wasting any more of my time or energy on this woman and her awful stories, and it did seem that the constant bad-mouthing stopped, and I wasn't hearing the awful stories that I'd heard before, so it definitely was a win for me on 2 counts. I was able to forget about it, and things got better on all fronts. So I have a quote for you that I hope you're going to remember every time you get frustrated by a competitor. All you can control is how you respond and who you become in the process. If you focus on anger and resentment, you'll become angry and resentful. If you focus on love and gratitude, you'll become loving and grateful. To add to this, if you focus on anger and resentment, you will also attract angry and resentful people. And of course, the opposite is also true. Choose negativity or positivity. Choose aggression or growth. Choose to be mediocre or be great. The choice is yours. The reality is that if you feel the need to resort to lies and bad-mouthing to compete, then you already have lost the game. Have you ever had a client bad-mouth you? What steps did you take to rectify it? Or did you just leave it and walk away? I'd love to hear about your experiences. So leave a comment below, and remember, this little segment of the show only works if you guys send me your questions each week, and you can do that by leaving a comment below using the hashtag AskKylie on Instagram or by emailing me at askkylie@kyliecarlson.co. Thank you so much for tuning in. Pamela, thank you for your question, and I hope that helped. And I look forward to seeing you in another episode of Ask Kylie very soon.